How often does it happen to you that you come out of an examination hall realizing that you have not completed all the requisite questions? Whether it is an MBA where you have 5 questions to answer and all you managed was 3.5, or whether you are a board student and you could not answer the multiple choice questions, or maybe you could not answer the questions which were the essay questions. How many times does it happen to you? And I realized this long time back when I was doing my master's in chemistry that many times the problem with people is that they do not attempt for 100 marks. Shambhavi here from Shambhavi Spectrum, acing it with passion. And today my topic is time management during exams. Now, this exam can be any, whether it is a student or whether you are doing a certification, upskilling, any exam. So, this is one thing that you don't know what the answer is and hence you don't attempt it. And the other thing is because you managed your time poorly, which means you did not manage your time. Now, the pattern which I used in my master's, and by the way, it's only then I realized that how important it was to actually start focusing. I know our teachers must have spoken about it a lot, but for me, I chose my own method because I don't think we had any indication on how actually to go about it. Yes, the teachers would give us general information and say that choose the ones which you know best, do them first, and then the ones which you don't know so much, you focus on them later, so that you are kind of, morally feeling little morale is good and you're feeling good that you've done your best. Also, the person who's grading you is looking at your first answers, which are like good, and later on, if you're not so good, they are still considerate. This would be the general theme which people work with. However, within this, what I found for myself in my master's is that we would have 5 questions which you would have to do, all compulsory. And let me tell you this, when we were doing our master's, there was no supplementary exams. There was no giving an exam. If you didn't do your exam well, or if you didn't turn up for your exam, you had to repeat the whole year. Not only you had this problem with just the grades, it was also that you had to get 40% in each subject, each top for each semester, and then for the year, I mean, and then you had to get a 50% aggregate as well. It was tough. So those who think that life was easy those days, you are mistaken. It was tough. Now, also don't forget that the resources that we had with us were pretty limited. There was no internet and there was no help. All we had were our books. So coming back to the exam, what I decided for myself is that when there was a 3-hour exam, I would spend the first 15 minutes only reading the question paper and deciding which questions I was going to attempt first. Then another 5-10 minutes maybe writing down the important points of each question in the back of my paper for what I wanted to say and not forget for each particular subject. Somewhere I have mentioned about the method which we used with whiteboard, and you can see that how we use the whiteboard for studying. So highlighting these points or writing those acronyms, those abbreviations was important. Then what I would do is I would start writing my question paper and divide the time which is remaining. Before that, the last 15 minutes used to be just left for a revision. So first 15 minutes gone, last 15 minutes gone, or maybe sometimes first 20 minutes. And then whatever time, remaining time I used to have, I used to divide that into each question. And then I would start writing my exam. And suppose I have kept 20 minutes for each question and I am not able to finish that particular question, I would move on after leaving some space to the next question. And then the last minutes that I've kept, the last 15 minutes as my reserve, I could come back to this. In this way, by managing my time, I ensured that I completed for 100 marks. Now, what was the advantage of this? One is that suppose you have done each question is for 20 marks. A teacher would give you a 16, a 17 and 18 If you're excellent, they would give you 19, which is tough. So I was an excellent, right? So I expected anything between a 16 and a 17. And if I get between a 16 and a 17 for 3 questions or 4 questions, I am good. So the last question, which I didn't know very well, but I have written something about it, a teacher would be kind and would mark something out there. In this way, because I addressed the question for full 100 marks, I could hope to score a 70 or an 80. But for those students who attempted only for 75 marks, because they did only 3.5 questions, which is the norm normally, 3.5 questions, who attempted only for 75, their likelihood of getting 60, 65 was all they could expect. And this comes purely from a place of how your marking is. Nobody is going to give you full marks because you really need to be excellent and beyond what is expected of you. So time management during the exam is very important, and how much time you give yourself, how you space yourself, this is something which one has to figure out themselves. Now suppose if you have multiple choice questions, short answer, long answer questions and all that, again you can make yourself into slots where you know. And this, when you're preparing for your exam, you can do that in the exam simulation and realize, are you a person who is likes to write a lot, then maybe you can adjust your time like that. Are you a person who draws? Make sure, by the way, that you draw diagrams and you have a flow within the each answer, because that helps the teachers who's evaluating to understand what your thought process is. And this is very important for everyone to manage their time during the exam to attempt the full question paper. And this I will say for any exam, online, offline. Please do that. Thank you very much for watching till now. Share this with somebody who needs this and who can use it. Show it to your parents. If you are a child, if you are a parent, show it to your children. And let's make sure that we do not lose out on our grades because we have not attempted the full question paper. Thank you very much for being here with me. Have a super duper day.